Wow, Chef Deb, thank
Hi,
you so much for doing this.
thanks for having me.
I tell you what, so again, just for everyone, we're doing some interviews with people that live and work in the community just so we get to know each other a little bit better. It kind of enhances the community environment when we do that. And I think you've been one of the people that have been asked for maybe since Dana's interview. People really want to hear more about you.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
And as I did some research with you, I think people are going to be really interested. You've got an amazing background.
Yeah,
So,
I'm a weird one.
so maybe we'll start with a little bit with just your, with your family and roots and where you grew up, things like that.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in New York, born on Long Island, to a very Italian family, a very Long Island Italian family. My grandmother is a World War II bride. My grandfather used to say he went over to fight the war in Italy and he brought it back with him. That's his favorite line. I have my parents are here in Florida, and I have a sister over in Fort Lauderdale, and a wonderful nephew. I want to say little nephew, but he's a teenager now, so
Okay.
his voice has dropped, and he's an adult.
Yeah. So you spent a lot of time in New York in your career. What
Yes.
what brought you back to Florida?
Mainly the family part, and probably one too many cold winters where I was moving my car for 2 hours and then forgetting to move it back or forgetting to move the car and then taking the car out. And I think all of that combined with, I saw my nephew starting to grow up and I didn't want to miss out on, those younger years before he has more of an attitude maybe
There you
as
go.
a teenager. But he doesn't have that attitude, so I didn't have to worry about that.
All right, good, good. Tell me a little bit more about your grandmother. I think you said that she really helped influence your love of food and cooking and everything like that.
Yeah, when I was a child, she always cooked. She had an apron on from the morning she woke up till she took it off at night.
Uh-huh.
Like she ate in the apron, she worked all day in the apron, she cooked all the meals. And I used to spend a lot of time there. And then when we moved down to Florida, I used to spend summers there. And I used to always cook with her, making gnocchis in the kitchen. And she would teach me, try this. She would cut garlic in her hand with a knife. It's just a very old school Italian. And when I went to culinary school, she used to try to be like, defer to me as the chef. And I'm like, that's just not how this works. Like you are the chef of the family.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me, you mentioned the Culinary Institute of America. Like, what was that experience like? Where was it in New York where you went to school?
Yep.
Okay.
It was in New York. I actually went to USF in Tampa first,
Okay.
and then got my bachelor's degree there, and then I went off to culinary
What did you
school.
get your bachelor's in?
Business management and
Okay.
marketing.
All right. Well, that's
And
relevant.
they had just launched an entrepreneurship program at USF, and I was one of the first students in that program.
Wow. That's
So I
great.
got to do some consulting in Ybor City for
Uh-huh.
some restaurants and things like that.
Okay.
But then the Culinary Institute of America is in Hyde Park, New York. It's an
Okay.
old Jewish seminary, so it's beautiful landscape. You have just the best teachers, but a very rigorous program. It's
Yeah.
like, every block is a 7-day block, and you learn like breakfast cookery 7 days, and like then you're off to the next one,
Yeah.
and but it's an amazing place to go to and
Yeah.
to be part of, and it was a great part of my life.
Isn't like making an omelet like one of the things that you
Breakfast
focus?
cookery, yeah,
Yeah.
those classes started at 2 a.m.
Okay.
And they had a very strict attendance policy. You miss
Yeah.
2 days and you're out of the school.
Oh,
So
wow.
2 a.m. is hard for people to adjust to.
Yeah.
And then you cook breakfast for the students.
Oh, all right.
So it's everybody cooks for everybody else at the school while they're learning. So
All
there's
right.
no waste.
Well, that's fantastic. Now, you also are a sommelier.
Yes.
Yes. So is that natural for the chefs to end up being a sommelier as well, or a
No,
little
I mean,
unique?
I guess at the CIA they had a wine program. They had an ale and lager program.
Mm-hmm.
It was called Ale and Lager Educational Society.
All right.
But the wine program is where I really kind of saw that I had developed a passion for wine as well.
Mm-hmm.
And like wine and cooking go, hand in hand.
Yeah.
You get the soil, the terroir of the area. You can taste it in the wine, the
Uh-huh.
salinity in the air, and all that. So I really kind of delved into that as well, and saw that as another branch of that kind of. I didn't necessarily use it initially.
Okay.
I ended up using it later on, when I worked for Mario Batali a little bit.
Oh wow! And where was that? Was that in?
That was in New York.
Okay.
That was in Soho area.
Okay. Okay.
Otto. They had 600 bottles, all Italian wine.
Oh my gosh.
So my vintage knowledge is off because
Mm-hmm.
it's from around 2000. So I'm like, oh, you want to drink the 1997? Like that's not the case anymore. But
Now, it probably helps being a sommelier and a chef, right?
yeah,
Particularly when you get into the wine pairings and everything
yeah,
like that.
it comes pretty naturally now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's and then you learn like why regional food has regional wines, and
Mm-hmm.
they all kind of go together, and it's really nice to bring that kind of experience to people when they're eating.
Okay. Now you started your own restaurant in Brooklyn.
I did.
Beast.
Beast.
That's a great name, by the way. I like that.
It was very risque back then. They're like, what are you going to call it?
So tell me about that experience.
Yeah, I tested the name out. So what I learned from my marketing background is that, people had a lot of negative, reactions to the name, or a lot of positive reactions to the name. But either way, they had strong reactions to the name. So I'm like, perfect. That's what I need.
Stands out.
Yeah. I was young and probably a little dumb, but I was just like, I'm going to open a restaurant. You know, I've got some credit cards. I've got, I had a little loan from my parents.
Yeah.
And then I had good credit, and I took out a bunch of credit cards and did it just a way that a 20-something-year-old would do it.
Okay.
So I was 28 when I opened Beast.
That's impressive for a 28-year-old. and Brooklyn was a kind of the up and coming restaurant scene at the time, right? It was a breakthrough.
It was a definitely like gentrified area, getting gentrified area. But I think it brought a nice food scene to the area, and I think it's blossomed since then.
Now, this part my wife is really excited about because she's a huge reality cooking show fan. But I discovered that you were on Chopped, a reality cooking show.
Yes, I was.
During your time at Beast.
Yes, I was.
So tell us how you got involved with that. But before you do that, let's go ahead and watch a clip of that.
Who will win the $10,000 prize? And who will be chopped? Four competitors think they have what it takes to be the chopped champion. Let's meet them. First up, Chef Debra Bicknese.
I own Beast Restaurant in Brooklyn, New York, and I think I can win Chopped because anything you can do, I can do better. I've always been in awe of swords and knives. I just find them very beautiful. And then it kind of worked out with my love of cooking. I can actually hold a knife all day and get paid for it. Winning this competition will really help me financially. My dog recently got attacked by a couple of pit bulls. The vets were very surprised she even made it. I'm in a deep financial hole right now to the tune of 8,000 plus, so I need to win this competition. The Knish mash is really ugly. I really need to do something with this. So I grabbed the turmeric, put that in. You can feel the pressure emanating from everybody. Anthony's intimidating. He's got a lot of experience. Jacques is really very knowledgeable. He works at a restaurant that I've been to and I love, and I just gotta hope that somebody falls down on their face and it's not me.
Chefs combine ocean perch, red carrots, Chinese okra, and potato knishes into an appetizer. Chef Debra.
We have a knish smash with blanched red carrots, a pan-seared perch, and fried okra on top.
You did step out in a creative ladder bit with the breading of the okra as well as the treatment of the knish.
I do like the way the fish is cooked, but the carrots here are sort of two different sizes, so I have pieces that are perfectly nice and tender, but then I have this sort of root end piece that I can't get my fork through.
Yeah. So tell us about that. What was that experience like? How'd you get involved in that first?
So I did not seek out to be on the TV show. They came to us because they were based in New York, so they came to the restaurant because honestly we got a nice buzz going around. We had a lot of press, New York Times, everybody was coming around. So there was a buzz that there was a female owner chef that was in this restaurant. They came by. I also had two other female chefs in the restaurant in the kitchen with me.
Okay.
Very tiny kitchen.
Uh-huh.
One wanted to be a TV star, like in the worst way. So I said, I don't really, that's not my thing,
Yeah.
but here, Michelle would love to do this.
Yeah.
So she went on Chopped. She went on Next Food Network star. She was the second person. Like,
Oh, wow.
so she did the thing. And then maybe a year later, they came back.
Okay.
And they're like, okay, your turn.
All right.
I'm like, they're like, are you competitive? I'm like, no, I'm not competitive. And I'm like, so competitive.
You looked at, yeah, I was going to say, that's not how it came across there. Yes. Now, how do the skills translate, though? Because I think part of the concept of those shows is you're under pressure, you've got the clock. Is that similar sometimes to how it operates in your kitchens?
It definitely is.
Uh-huh.
But if you're asking for a piece of equipment and the other person has it, generally that person will say, I have it over here. Not like,
they're not going to hide it from you. So, would you do a cooking show again, do you think?
I mean, I probably would.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big camera person. I don't like to be
Mm-hmm.
in front of the camera, but I like to push myself to do
Mm-hmm.
those things that are super uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
that maybe
Do you watch them now?
I don't watch them anymore.
No. Yeah. So again, when you look back at your career, you've worked with multiple restaurants. You worked with your cousin on a restaurant
Yep.
too. What, cousin or brother? What?
Cousin.
Cousin. Okay.
My cousin Gerard. So in the middle
Yeah.
of during the financial crisis time,
Yeah.
I also ended up putting a lot of effort and time and money into a bar / music venue
Mhm.
/ food place across the street.
Okay.
So it created some conflict
Okay.
when things got rough.
Yeah.
But he's still running that bar
That's
currently. It's still open. It has been for a while.
That's great. Now, as I'm going over your resume, you have kind of a hard left turn, and you go to Yellowstone
Mm-hmm.
National Park and serve as the executive chef there. How did you get out there? What?
So initially, when I first moved down to Florida after closing the restaurant, I ended up staying with some family and relaxing, putting all my stuff in storage and trying to figure life out again, And I came down here and I looked for a position that I wanted to do, not just any position. I wanted to do something meaningful culinarily, and I didn't find anything. And one of my wishes always was to try to do something in Yellowstone, and I thought, it's you stay in a dorm and you do this whole thing. Like I never stayed in a dorm in college. I just had an apartment,
Yeah.
I'm like, let's do it now,
Uh-huh.
and they took me on, and it was another amazing push me to the limits kind of position. But they were just doing grand opening of their hotel, so they gave me kind of free reign to do some fun creative stuff, and I got to meet people from all over the world basically.
That's great. So now let's maybe talk about Gather and
Yes.
how did you end up here at Gather and Valencia Trails?
So part of that experience when I had moved down for Yellowstone, and once I got back from Yellowstone in Florida and I was looking for a job again in this area, I was really taking my time to try to find something, and there are just a lot of like club chef jobs out there, and I didn't actually want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I was like I was very fine dining, kind of Manhattan, Brooklyn, small, it was a different kind of dynamic, I thought.
Yeah.
And then I ran across Brian Rowland with Crave Culinaire and what he was doing, and I saw his website, and I was like, this guy's doing some really interesting stuff, and he's embarking on this new project, which at that point was Valencia Bonita.
Right.
So I joined him on that project, and then we learned a lot from that project, and I'm hoping, that we came over to Gather. I'm so happy that I got the opportunity to open this place, and it's beautiful. And again, having the opportunity to try to figure out what restaurant we can put in this clubhouse that makes everybody want to come all the time for all their meals.
How would you describe kind of your style as a chef? Do you have a personal style that you think? I mean, like obviously there's Italian and other Asian things like that, but how would you describe what your style is?
Well, I believe my cooking style, if I had to define it now, is a little bit of that mix of all kinds of ethnicities. I really always, when I was even in high school, I would go to the library and look up different, Moroccan food or Indian food, and just want to get into the different kinds of spices and things. However, when I generally cook on my own, I like to do less is more most of the time.
Okay.
And I, that Italian Mediterranean comes in to everything I do, regardless of whether it is, Middle Eastern or something. The Italian's going to come into it.
Yeah.
I can't take that out.
So what's it like working in a restaurant like this in a club versus a normal restaurant type experience?
Well, I have to say this is the first restaurant experience where you're in service all the time,
Okay.
and lunch and dinner coexist.
Yeah.
And then happy hour coexists on top of that.
Yeah.
That's not something that I was used to before. We would open up sometimes just for dinner. So during the day, you spend time working on specials, and that's where all that kind of like the creative chef stuff happens.
Yes.
So sometimes it can get challenging in this environment, when you're trying to make up something and people are like calling out, we're calling out tickets, and I'm also plating. It's a different kind of challenge, and I'm always looking for a challenge. So it's just a different angle of doing that. But I'm always trying to do better. The funny thing about restaurants is that people, they see me walking around like, oh, how are you cooking our food too? It's like, I don't get a chance to do that more. Sometimes in summer I'll have more time back there, physically cooking the meal and maybe bringing it to your table, as you see.
And that's an interesting question. So as you're bringing on staff,
yes,
how experienced are the staff that you bring in, or how much of it do you have to actually teach them how to cook yourself?
They need training.
Yeah, not from you or from you.
They get training from me.
Okay.
They get training from my sous chef Mike, and then and as they have learned things from me, they train the person next to them that sees them doing the wrong thing. It is a constant, training thing. Like, is there salt in that water? That you're cooking pasta in, because that's my mom's favorite, complaint at a restaurant. They didn't salt the water in pasta. Like that's a thing. And I tell them, like, people say that at the table. Yeah. I was with my parents. They say that at the table. It's a real thing. So do the right thing.
I'm not allowed to eat pasta. I'm only allowed to eat it when I go to a restaurant, so I don't know how to cook it. But what would you say then, as working in this? Like, what's your favorite thing about this type of experience versus a restaurant, or maybe vice versa?
I like the fast-paced dynamics of the constant moving and changing and things happening at a constant rate. I do like that. Otherwise, I think I would be bored.
Yeah.
It's then you find things to clean. Like it's not, and it's hard. When it slows down, you have more time to do more things. But and then you don't have time when it's busy.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. So diners that come in to gather, what do you want them to take away? What do you want them to feel when they come here to the restaurant?
Well, I would like them to know that, myself, and I've been training the staff as well, we're all very skilled in, learning about dietary restrictions and things like that. We have a lot of people in the community that have varying, diets that they're following and things like that. And they may think that they're all the same, but a lot of these things right now, they don't always intersect or oversect or something like that. So it can be very problematic to put something on the menu that may gear towards something or the other. Also, I would have to train XYZ working there to make sure that's always the case, where I'd like for them to know that they can just come and ask for these specific things. I'd be happy to personally come out to the table if I'm around, and this way, you're getting the attention and it's being cared for, and you're not just kind of rolling the dice and hope, like 90% of the time it's good, the 10% of the time, you don't want that. I want to make sure that everybody feels like they can get whatever they want out of the restaurant, even if it's not on the menu, if we can put it together.
Most people probably don't know that you were a hockey player.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd like to continue, but it's a little harder in Florida.
Yeah.
And it's a Hertz arena. I did research. It's actually one of the only things that I didn't put in storage when I drove down there is all my hockey stuff.
All right. You sent me a picture. You had pet skunks.
I did.
How do you end up with a pet skunk?
I was in high school. I was a senior in high school, so my parents were like okay with me getting a pet, maybe going off to college. And for some reason, I wanted a bat. Of all things, I wanted a bat. So my dad took me to the pet land in Fort Myers, and it's like, do you have any bats? And the guy's like, no, we don't have any bats. But we have skunks. So, and then I just fell in love. I just fell in love. They're kind of a cross between a cat and a dog. They eat like a very well balanced meal, like fresh vegetables and cottage cheese, and and they use a litter box. They come when they're cold.
Oh my gosh.
They're nocturnal, so it worked for kind of my younger.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, perfect. And now you're a cat.
Now I have 2 cats, Biscuit and Gravy.
Everybody in this restaurant likes cats, I think.
Yes.
It's a cat thing.
Yes.
So.
You know what? It's probably the first normal pet I've ever had.
Biscuit
I did
and
have a
Gravy.
dog.
Now, does Biscuit and Gravy get the chef service at home, or
yes,
what
they're picky.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, they whine. I'm like, you don't want this. You don't want this.
So hey, getting back to the skunks, I can't get this out of my head. Did they ever spray anybody? Did that?
No, they take their little gland out.
Okay, all right. Well, that's much
but
safer.
But they do think. I think they think they do. So they do like stomp and give you the butt, and but nothing happens.
They're shooting blanks.
Just blanks.
That's good. All right, so. I guess with everything that you've learned in this industry, what still really excites you about food or cooking or wine? I mean, is it still as exciting as it was?
It is. It is when I'm here, but when I get home, honestly, like I'm a pizza person.
Yeah.
I'm just like not like, very no frills, and I know most chefs are like that.
Okay.
But when I get here or when I'm driving here, I'm like, oh, I want to do this. I want to try this. And sometimes it gets shot down as soon as they come in lunch business to be picked up, and you're like, oh, I can't put those potato scales on the fish like I wanted, But I always have those feelings.
Great. So. That's great. So if your grandmother were to come in and have dinner, what would you make her?
I wouldn't make her pasta. I would probably make her the short ribs.
Okay, the short ribs.
She's like she's a comfort food. I think she would enjoy them.
Well,
she used to enjoy them.
They're very good. Well, hey, thank you for doing this, Deb, and thank you for everything you're doing
Thank
here
you very much.
for the residents of Valencia Trails. Fantastic. Thank you.